Hello and welcome to day 19 of Cook for Victory. My name is Maddie.
And my name is Millie and we are cooking tonight at Cookery School at Little Portland Street.
I have over 10 years experience as a pastry chef and I've done my last 3 here teaching at Cookery School.
I'm from London. I did my professional training here at Cookery School and before that was a private chef in Italy.
And between the two of us, over the last 18 days and today 19 included, we have brought in some really cool recipes, very simple, very easy to put together. We show you we can do it in an hour, start to finish, well seasoned and delicious. And tonight we've got something a little different.
Yeah, we're doing hummus, flatbreads and a couple of lovely Middle Eastern salads. So we are moving in a slightly different direction tonight, building on lots of things that we've learned throughout the weeks. Seasoning, salad dressings,
bread even.
And making a delicious hummus as well, which is going to be a little bit new tonight.
Yeah, a little bit new, different flavors. But the very first thing we have to get going is, for you guys at home, your oven on, we have to get our aubergine in a nice hot oven. So we've got 210, 220. It's going in whole.
So I'm just going to give it a couple of pricks. It's just to release water while it's cooking, help it cook nice and evenly as well. And it can just go in dry. I'm going to put it in a nice hot oven, so about 200. Right, I'm just going to try and get this to balance nicely. Ooh, there we go. Couple
and then while the oven is on, we're kind of using multi-talented. This is for the aubergine salad. And then this is for the fattoush salad. So this is our kind of stale flatbreads that we've got going. I'm just going to give them a drizzle of olive oil so they can get nice and crispy in the oven as well. And they're going to go in with the aubergine.
And maybe a little pinch of salt.
And maybe a little pinch of salt.
If you don't prick your aubergine, it just may explode. So it's just a good way to release pent-up pressure as well.
May explode.
So in this is going to go. So we need to cook this until it's totally soft, not spongy. And then we're going to let it cool and drain. So we've got lovely dry salad.
And almost the exact opposite for your flatbreads. We're going for crispy. So they should be like on the way stale, but this is going to just make them really nice and crispy, crunchy, just like for the edge of your salad.
Lovely. Right, in the oven these go as well, so they're both going to go in about 200 to 210, nice and hot. All right. And
now, I think we've done it twice before, this is going to be our third time, our bread. So this tonight, instead of our bread rolls or our pizza, this is going to be in a flatbread. We'll make them nice and flat. We'll put a bit of za'atar on them. They're all the same ingredients. We've got a good hit of salt, olive oil, and some dry yeast. As per usual, we're not using any machines. It's all in today. Salt and yeast in. You guys should be pros at this by now. All of your olive oil and then water. I'm doing a full recipe. It's loosely based on 1 cup of water, but sometimes it's kind of 1 cup and some, or 1 cup and a bit. So we've got everything else in. I'm going to put my 1 cup of water in and then use my finger as a dough hook, as I always do. This is your dough hook for tonight. Incorporate it all, and then maybe if we need a touch more water, we can go from there. These flatbreads are pretty good because they're lovely and soft, and we're going to paint them in a bit of oil. But they also don't need a really big second proof like our buns or our pizza. They can kind of go straight in the oven. So they are a little bit quicker than your regular bread. But I will say in terms of consistency, that is dry. So I'm going to go in, I've done my cup, let's say maybe 1/4 more, 1/4 cup more, maybe a little bit less. If this is your first time tuning in for bread, a little bit dry will make your life a whole lot easier, so don't go so wet that you can't handle it on your bench. And then the hard yards, where I get all my muscles from, kneading. So we're looking for something that is really nice and tight and springy. In terms of my water amount, I've kind of picked up all my flour in the bowl. So it looks all together, there's nothing left in the bowl. So for me, I'm happy to go on the bench and, like I said, get my muscles going. We've had a couple of interest in our friend Jeffrey. He's back for tonight. If you got mucky hands, get yourself a little bowl of flour. The easiest thing to do is kind of dust off your hands. If you're starting with mucky hands, it's already a hard job. Using the edges of your fingers, trying not to go too hard in your palms, but always just kind of thinking about you're not just going to stick your hands in and keep it there forever. You're being a bit quick. You can smear it along the bench and fold it back like this. You can, the smearing's good. You can do the old slap and fold. You could do a personal favorite of mine, which is like this. Make yourself a nice mess. Either way, all you're doing is stretching it out and bringing it back in. And that's going to give you a nice bit of tension, which is what's going to keep all your yeast bubbles in. So the yeast is going to create bubbles in the bowl while it's having its first proof.
Wow, that looks so much smoother already as well.
So you're so right, actually. Already I can see, I'm just bringing bread everywhere. Already, even though it came out a little bit messy, a little bit sloppy, you can see it's already really quite keeping to itself. It's keeping nice and it's cleaning up its own mess, which is what you kind of want. What we're looking for, again, we don't need the perfect super glutinous bread because these are going to be flatbreads. The yeast just gives them a little bit of softness. There are some flatbreads out there that don't have any yeast in them. So for us, we are just looking for something that's a little bit bouncy.
The other thing is for your flatbreads that have just gone in the oven, your stale pizza, we're going to cook them for about 15 minutes. They should be nice and crisp and looking really golden brown. So then we'll let them cool and we'll break them into shards. So 2 flatbreads simultaneously.
1 raw, 1 cooked. Okay.
But this is a very nice thing to do with your leftover pizza that you have maybe at the end of the next day or something.
Yeah. All right. We've got our beautiful dough
Gorgeous.
ball. This is something, if you're very used to it, is going to bring it into a ball. If you're not, you're going to get a tiny bit of flour on your bench, pop it on your flour, flatten it out as best you can, and I'm not shredding it like this. I'm basically using flat, 2 hands down to flatten it out. Pinch a little bit, stick it to the center, pinch a little bit, stick it to the center, go all the way around until you've got something that kind of loosely resembles a dumpling on top like this. Flip that over, and then you just want a little bit of spring back. That's all we're looking for. And now in your proving chamber, which is for you guys at home, you've got a bowl like this full of boiling water, and then you're going to put your other bowl in with it, and what that will do is your bread dough will grow to about double in size is what we're looking for the first time. So proving chamber for us is an oven. It might be, if you don't have a spare oven, if you don't have 2 ovens like us, you can put it in a nice warmish place with a wet tea towel on top just so that it doesn't dry out. We're just looking for a warm enough place to get that yeast going. And I'll say this one time and I'll say it a million times, now is a really good time to give your hands a great wash. Yeast is a fungus that thrives at body temperature, so your nail cuticles all over your hands. And Millie's coming with the antibacterial for the bench. It is alive. There we go.
So I'm going to give the tabletop a really good sanitize. Maddie's going to wash her hands, and then we're going to show you how to make our first salad, which is a lovely fattoush using stale pizza. Right, so first thing we need to do is just to prep out our salad. So I've got everything on the side, but it's very fresh, summery ingredients. So I've got lovely ripe tomatoes, radishes, spring onion, lots and lots of picked herbs, some cucumber, limes as part of our dressing, pomegranate molasses. So it's just building these layers of lovely, fresh, summery flavor. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop our tomatoes into probably 8s, because these are on the larger side. Right, actually mess up a little. Oh, thank you. Reading my mind, little scrap ball.
Thanks, ma'am.
And if you have them, these serrated knives are really useful for cutting anything quite soft, like a tomato. So I'm going to go in half, and then just going to trim out the core.
And I'm here to help.
And you're here to help. I'm going in half again, and then with my small pieces, you're just going into sort of irregular-ish chunks. So you can go into 8 total. If you could use cherry tomatoes. You just have to maybe just go in half for those. So with our spring onions, we're going to finely chop them. You could even use like a really mild onion or something. I know it says that in our other recipe where we're doing a tomato and aubergine salad. But this one, just because we got them and they're lovely in season.
Yeah, they've got a good smell to them. They're nice and sweet. We are steering away a little bit today or tonight from our usual ingredients. So we've got lots of fresh, but also lots of spices, lots of acids. Some good fats as well going in. So
lots and lots of olive oil.
yeah, the seasoning process will be like same but different. So yeah, we're going to use salt, but we're also going to use a lot of different types of acids, a lot of different types of spices. We've got some sumac, some cumin. This salad is going to be super light and fresh. I'm going to start with the cucumber. We've got one long, big one. You can get the tiny little baby
small
cubes.
Persian
Use a
cucumbers.
few of those, but I'm just going to top and tail.
Can you give me half?
Thank you. I can give you half. I'm going to top and tail, chop it in half, give half to Millie.
And what we're going to do is whenever you're making a salad, ideally they're on the drier side so your dressing clings really well. So we're going to go in half one more time, straight down the centre. She says missing the centre a little bit.
And then get those seeds
We're going to use a little teaspoon just to scoop all the seeds out because they're quite wet and that's going to make your salad get quite soggy fast. So one of the last things we're going to add into the salad is the pita chips because we want them to be really crunchy and fresh. So they bring a lot of texture to the salad.
And if you, this salad is quite nice if you do sit it for a while because it kind of absorbs the flavors, but you would still put the pita bread, the crunchy pita bread last, so it keeps nice and crunchy. And then we're going for 1.5 centimetre-ish cube. So very similar to what we've done. I'm actually going to cut mine into, I've got
which is pretty
3
fine.
or 4, depending on what your cucumber looks like, the battens that we've been doing every single time. Yeah, 1.5 centimetres is quite small, so it's not rough chop, that's for sure.
But it's all about variation at the end of the day. We've got slightly bigger bits of tomato. Our cucumbers can be a little bit finer because it's slightly denser. And then we'll just have these big crispy shards of pita.
Yum, yum, yum.
So if you are feeling a little unconfident with your knife, just keep your hand on top of the blade. But otherwise, we're going to keep our fingers like clawed back just so our nails are well tucked underneath and not in the way of anything.
We've got our best friend Jeffrey helping us out.
Not good for just bread.
He's there
for just about everything.
Safety. Something new I think we haven't done before as well. So we've got our cucumbers, we've got our tomatoes, we've got some radishes for today. They're super light, super fresh, very crunchy. They've got a really good crunch to them. They're a little bit peppery. Yeah, a little bit peppery. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. But they add a great colour as well. So these ones are bright pink. They're fantastic. But there's a million different types of radishes that you can use as well.
So we're just going to do a very small trim top and bottom. Just get rid of any bits of the root or the top. Radish tops are actually really delicious.
Radish tops?
Mm-hmm. My dad stir fries them sometimes. Ooh, if you can find them with them on, that's how you know they're really fresh. But most of the time they come trimmed a bit like carrots. Right. So we're going to go, I think, in 2 quarters. They're on the sort of larger side. Sorry, 8s. They're on the larger side, a little bit like our tomatoes. So pop them flat so you've got a nice sturdy surface to be chopping on. And if not, you can just put your fingers between them so you've got a nice stable archway to be working between. So smallish pieces, radishes are very dense and crunchy, so you don't want to have a whole one. But any of these slightly smaller ones, maybe I'll just go into quarters total.
Yeah, I think actually I've got one slightly bigger. They do have a pretty strong flavour, so you don't want to bite into a massive piece either. Right, they're very pretty.
And the last thing we need to do is to finely chop a spring onion. So once again, I'm just pulling off any of the sort of slightly tougher bits. These will be slightly harder to cut with my knife, especially if they are a little dried out. So you want to remove that layer. I'll just twist off any of the little sad bits. Just do a very slight trim on the roots because you never need to take off a ton. Most people take off a little too much and it's just quite wasteful. And we're going to do the claw and just go for nice thin slices. And the sharper your knife is for this, the easier the time you'll have.
I'm thinking our pita breads are going to be very close.
If I can. I'm going to give them just a quick toss in the oven, just flip them over so they're toasting evenly.
Crispy, and I'm just
crispy.
heading on with the rest of my spring onion.
All right, so they're looking golden brown, which is amazing. So all of that delicious flavour toasting up. So I'm just going to flip them over, put them back in for another 5. And actually, while we're here, aubergine is starting to soften a little bit, but definitely nowhere near done. So I'm going to just put that back in. All right, how are you doing?
Almost.
So salad number 1, nearly done. We're going to start to prep salad number 2. And if we have a little extra time before our flatbreads have finished their first proof, we can even start prepping the hummus. Simple.
We've got,
Shall we do mint and parsley and then dressing?
yeah, so we've got beautiful, beautiful fresh herbs to kind of go in with that fresh style. This is, again, a different, slightly different palette to what we're used to. We've got beautiful, really good mint. That's going to give it a nice pop. And I think, as per usual, we've got some parsley as well.
So
classic in Middle Eastern cuisine.
We're going to pick the mint off the stems. They're very, very tough and woody always with mint, to be honest. So even young mint is going to...
Whereas parsley, they have those soft stems that we do all the time. So I'm going to just roll them all up. That we've done. But
if you want to be a little fussy, you could always take off the
if they're
stems,
massive,
especially if they are big.
Yeah, if they are really big.
And this always seems to stain the underside of my nails when I do this, because I basically use the tip of my thumbnail just to nip off any like small leaves towards the top. But you can also just pull them off. They should come off fairly easily. And we're going to get these nicely finely chopped to go in our salad. And this just provides like a lot of extra freshness as well.
Yeah, this is a lovely,
so
very
crunchy
light,
freshness,
yeah, really
herby.
Crisp. And of course, we're going to make a beautiful dressing to go with.
And we're definitely going to veer in a very different direction today with our salad dressing, introducing some new ingredients. We're using things like allspice and cinnamon, which are typically very Middle Eastern, but not often used in Western dressings, raw spices. We're also going to use pomegranate molasses, which is a little sweet, a little sour. It's basically boiled down pomegranate juice.
A really good balance in a salad dressing as well.
You can even use it as cordial, which is really lovely, a nice soft drink.
It's
very, very concentrated pomegranate juice. So I've got my massive stack of leaves. I'm just going to roll these up nice and tight.
And I am going smaller than I usually would with the parsley, just because we aren't cooking it, so you don't want to be eating like a huge leaf of parsley, basically. It wants to be a very toss through lightly.
And I'm going as fine as I possibly can the first time around. The more and more you chop mint, the more you start to bruise it and it will blacken and potentially turn a little bit bitter. So I like to just do a very fine chop the first round rather than doing a coarse chop and then going over it again and again and again, potentially making it kind of dark brown and ugly coloured. We want this to be like really, really bright and fresh coloured. No dullness.
No dull.
Just beautiness.
Bright, beautiful, rainbow-esque. It's looking pretty beautiful right now, very bright and colourful.
And then just my last couple of leaves, I'll just put my hand on top, rock my knife over it, just get it a little bit finer. I'll fluff it up, just because you always get the odd piece that is really, really big.
So beautiful.
Nearly there. So it should look light and fluffy and not black, but it needs to be nice and fine, otherwise you'll just get a big fat bit of mint in your mouth. It can be a little bit tough. You stole my Jeffrey, how could you? Right, into the bowl it goes. So we're leaving it undressed so far, but we'll come back to this very, very shortly. So, salad dressing. We have got lots of lovely Middle Eastern ingredients. We've got sumac, which is, I think it's a berry. Someone can correct me, but it's basically very, very lemony. So even though it is red in colour, this is like almost like a good lemon replacement.
It's a great lemon replacement, actually. It is. Yeah. It's dry, so if you're worried about your liquidity or your hydration,
from a sumac tree, I'm being
lemony.
From a sumac tree. So we've got some sumac that's going to go into our dressing, and also some that'll go on top. And this is classic ingredient in a lovely fattoush or a Middle Eastern dressing. We've also got our dry spices, so we've got allspice and cinnamon, so very warming, quite Christmassy to be honest, to like the sort of Western palate, but very...
Weirdly enough, in this, it's quite...
So good.
It's not as wintry as you may seem. It is quite light and fresh, and I think it adds a nice spice to it. And for your recipe, you can use 1 lemon or 2 limes. I've got 2 limes just because we have them around, but it's either or. It's just a nice acid flavour. And we've got your pomegranate molasses there as well.
So if you haven't tried it before, pomegranate molasses are really, really lovely. They're not molasses as in sugar. They do just come from pomegranate juice, but they are lovely and sweet and sour. This is going to go in. It is optional though. You could just skip this and just have your lemon or lime juice for your little bit of sweet and sour.
The spices will add a little bit of sweetness as well, so do that allspice, but the pomegranate molasses is kind of a bit of both. It's got acid and it's got sweetness in it. So I love it. I have it at home and I use it all the time. I think it's really good if you're missing a few ingredients.
So pomegranate juice is just made from squeezing all the lovely kernels of pomegranates, all the seeds, and then to make the molasses, they're just boiling it down repeatedly until lots
really
of water is
slowly,
evaporated
though,
off.
really, really slowly. So it's a very low and slow process because otherwise you just burn the juice, which is not very fun.
So looking at this, and when you're tasting it, it will be a little bit gritty, but overall it will be covering the whole salad and you won't even notice it.
No.
So it's a bit of a weird one to taste at first, but be hopefully a really nice surprise once you try the fully dressed salad. So I'm going to pour in my olive oil, give it a really good mix, and then we're going to season this pretty well with salt, because we need to balance out all of this acid and fat, and I'm going to have a quick check on our pitta.
That's our timer. So the pomegranate molasses we use a lot, and I think a lot of people use it because it is it's a natural occurring sugar. Even though it is like processed, it's more of a natural sugar. And so the sweetness is not as, I don't know, very, very sweet, if that makes sense. It's a bit more of a nicer balance, particularly for salad dressings.
So, some pitta.
Crispy.
Crispy. I'm just going to give it a little flip and a little... So it should be like hard and crisp, and just once these have cooled down, we're going to break them up into like lovely little shards. So I'm going to set this to the side and we'll come back to this later.
Because it is going to be the last thing that goes on the salad. So you can kind of just forget about it, it's done now, and just before you serve it, you can put your nice crispy breads on. And I've juiced these limes, not the juiciest limes in the world, we might need a little bit more.
But we're also using that extra pomegranate molasses, so
That's
hopefully
true.
the sweet and sour should be well balanced.
All we have to do is taste it and see how we go.
And I'll grab some tasting spoons.
Beautiful. Do you want a dash to start?
Yeah, why not? Maybe half?
Dash.
So with acid, especially things like lemons and limes, they come, you know, they're natural. You never know exactly how acidic they're going to be.
Or how juicy.
So you can always add more or less.
Or
It changes
less.
all the time. And the last thing we need is a little salt. So I'll just start with a good pinch,
A good pinch.
medium to large. Make sure it's really well dissolved in all the liquid.
When I first tasted it before the salt went in, it tasted quite fatty, quite sweet, and quite sour. So I'm hoping the salt will kind of just level it all out.
So when you're seasoning and dressing, you just want everything to be well balanced. Otherwise, it will just be too extreme either end. And with this one in particular, there's no emulsifiers, nothing like garlic or mustard to keep it together. So you want to make sure you're whisking it while you're tasting it. Otherwise, you'll just try a big bit of oil.
I think it just needs a touch more. It's a bit sweet.
Nice though. And a little more salt. More lime, more salt.
More lime, more salt.
Usually when you're adding a little more acid, you often need to add a little salt to counteract that later on. So another little bit of salt. Whisk, whisk, whisk. Whisk, whisk. And actually, I can't really taste all those spices that we put in, which is a good sign we need more salt, because you should be able to taste everything with the salt enhancing all the flavours. So let's have another little.
We go through our spices very quickly, but if you have sumac that's been in your storeroom for like over a year or more, you can always give it a really light fry. It just kind of like, just gives it a bit of a pop. If it's been sitting and it's been dry for so long, it loses a lot of flavour, and mixing it in oil is not going to do too much for it.
That's nice.
So you can always give it a light fry.
And it should be,
Oh, that is
it's always a
very
maroony
yummy.
colour, but the darker it is, often the older. Do
I
you think
like
a little
it.
more salt?
Yeah, a little bit.
So our cucumbers, our radish, our tomatoes, they are full of water. They'll need a good amount of seasoning to actually make sure they're not bland. So just, I mean, it's quite tart. Also, the sumac is a little bit acidic. So I'm going to add one more pinch of salt, and I'm going to whisk that and set it aside. Call it a day on our salad. Then we're going to move on to our aubergine and tomato one.
Yes, so for the aubergine and tomato salad, the aubergine does need to cool, and we need to squeeze out all the innards. So they need to be basically as soft as possible to make that really easy. So it needs a lot more time in the oven, but it is also one of the last things that we can add in. So we're going to get all the rest of it prepped, all our herbs, tomatoes, everything like that. We'll give it a pre-seasoning and then potentially add a little bit more once the aubergine is ready.
So again, similar, very, very fresh ingredients. Ooh, let me grab all these things.
We've got our, actually almost the
Very
exact
similar,
same.
but they will come out very different.
And this is a kind of like a warmer salad. So that one's very crunchy, very fresh, very
cold.
light. Whereas this one is a bit on the warmer side. So we've got our warm aubergine, and it's kind of just balanced with a little bit of the tomatoes, and we've got a bit of heat from a chili as well. So all good stuff.
So we are going to, once again, finely chop our parsley and mint. We're going to finely chop our tomatoes, but our aubergine will be slightly coarser because it's very, very soft. We've got some cumin, we've got some olive oil as part of our dressing, lemon zest, which is extra fresh, a kind of slightly different flavour from lemon juice, plus some lemon juice, a little spice from the green chili, and again, a little crunch and sort of mild oniony flavour from our spring onions.
So both these salads, I would say, are like super, super summery. And so that's where you get all your fresh ingredients, but the tomatoes are in season, so it's like very, very like an ideal summer salad as well. Because they're not warm, you know, they're supposed to be like freshen you up.
So ideally, don't make these in the middle of winter. They'll never be very delicious. Try and do them as tomatoes enter into their peak. Things like cucumbers and stuff are usually fairly nice all year round, to be honest, in the UK, but cucumbers definitely lack flavour most of the time if they're not in peak season. So I'm going to start by zesting my orange. So you can use a grater, but you basically just want to go just down to the, what did I say?
You said orange, I think.
Orange.
Yeah, I mean, it's not orange, so
it's a very yellow orange.
If you haven't learned anything yet after all these days, this is a lemon. It is a lemon.
So I'm just going down to the bright white layer, but you don't need to do like a really firm zest. It's literally just taking off the first millimetre of lemon zest. So I'm going top to bottom, and this hand is rotating this way while this one goes like this, but you can just use a box grater if you haven't got one of these. In a pinch, I've even used a peeler and a knife to finely cut it, but that was a bit of a
I would
nightmare.
use the world's worst grater than I would use a peeler and a knife. If you are doing the tomatoes, they're going to be quite similar to the fattoush salad in size. I'm going to try and make them just the tiniest bit smaller because the aubergine is soft when it comes out, so you don't want like a soup with like huge chunks of tomatoes. So they're going to be like bite-sized if you can get it, or even smaller. So same process though, in half. For me, I'm going to quarter them and just get that little stem out from the top bit. It's not very nice to bite through one of those.
And if you do go too far with your lemon and you just keep on zesting down to the white part, it's going to get very, very bitter. So we just want like the really light, fragrant, bright yellow part, none of the white stuff.
It just doesn't taste like anything. It's not very delightful.
No. And I'm very obsessive about this. I love lemon zest, so I try and get every little bit off. Because as soon as you zest your lemons, they will start to go bad quite quickly. It's almost like the protective layer. So at this point, we're going to juice this for our salad or maybe our hummus. So we're going to keep this to the side. Actually, I'll give it a little roll.
This one we can put... Oh, actually, I've got so much juice already from those.
So whenever you're juicing things, you want to just give them like a firm roll, just to help get all the juices out. I'm going to leave my zest in here just until we need it. I'll pop that to the side for now. So next thing, I'm going to do my spring onion. So again, I'm just going to like take off any bits which are looking a little bit floppy. Oh, sorry. Wrong one.
I'm going to check the aubergine actually. See what it looks like. Hopefully it's quite soft. It is starting to, lucky you poked those holes because it's starting to fizz out of the holes. So
yeah, aubergines have a lot of water in them, so you just want to make sure that you poke them, just otherwise they might explode out. Be very dramatic.
I'm just going to check. I'm going to bring it up to you. How do you feel about softness? More soft, less soft? What?
Ooh, I'm going to grab a knife. I think a little longer. It just was a little bit tough. And aubergines are very, very spongy if you don't cook them properly. So a little bit longer. Cool. Right, I'm going to continue just finely chopping my spring onions. Once again, trimming off the roots. Getting all the stuff off my board as I go.
I'm still going with my tomatoes.
Ooh. So very nice thin rounds. If you can chop all your spring onions at the same time, save yourself a little bit of time.
And it's almost mucky hands time. The bread should be going pretty soon. Like I said, the flatbreads don't need to be the flatbreads don't need to be super well proved the second time around. The yeast just adds a little bit of softness to them to make them very nice and tender and good for mopping up dips like our hummus today. So they're a little bit quicker than the breads that we've done before, so they don't need that second proof quite as strong.
Ooh, that was nearly a donation.
All right, tomatoes in. Very juicy, sweet, fragrant smelling tomatoes.
And I'm going to start on the chili, so I'm going to de-seed it just in case it's a little on the hot side. So because it's a little wobbly, I'm going to put my fingers between, so I've got something to stabilize them. And then when I open up, you can see I've got the top chop that off. And most of the time you should just be able to pull it out with your hands.
And I've got a good bunch of parsley. It would not be a lovely fresh salad without a good bunch of parsley.
Especially not a Middle Eastern one. If you're in doubt,
especially not
a
Middle
little more
Eastern
parsley.
one. Yeah. It can never be too green, that's for sure.
Not Middle Eastern if you're stingy on the parsley.
And I'm doing the same thing we always do, rolling it up nice and tight, coming with my core hands, fingers tucked under, and then my nice pizza chop back and forth until it's very, very small.
I'm going to go quite fine on my chili. You can use a red one or a green one depending on what you have.
I think that chili
is hot.
It's got my eyes going, so we'll be gentle.
It does smell a little. Maybe I'll keep this one out just for now. And I'll chop it all and we can add half and see how we go.
So chilies, if you leave them in the fridge for a long time, even if you buy them, you use them one day and they're not very hot and you leave them in your fridge for 2 weeks, after those 2 weeks your chili will be aged and it will be much spicier than when you first bought it.
Chili magic.
So yeah, it's chili magic. It's the notion of chili. So just be wary.
And of course, please wash your hands really, really well after touching chilies, or just use gloves. Don't touch your eyes.
Eyes, ears, mouth, lips,
anything.
Nose, nothing. Well, ideally when you're cooking you're not doing that anyway, but just be very wary of not touching anything else before you, after you've chopped your chilies.
Do you remember that
There's
event
some horror stories
when
out
I rubbed
there.
my eyes after touching chilies and we had to make strudel? And I was just crying the whole time.
Eyes is a big one. Nose is not very nice.
But also your hands. So once you've touched chilies and you're not using gloves, use like a oil-based cleaner. Like a soap-based cleaner, like washing up liquid, to wash all the chili oils off your hands.
Yeah.
I've learned that from experience.
We've all had a chili
fiasco.
incident.
So I'm going to start with half. I will chop the other bit, and if we need it, I can add more spice, but you can never take it out, to be honest.
It is. And again, if you let it sit for a little while, the chili will get hotter.
And really, Middle Eastern food is not supposed to be hot and spicy. It should be mild, fragrant, fresh.
Yeah, it's
delicious.
just like a little bit of heat, not a burner. It shouldn't be painful to eat, that's for sure.
And a lot of the Middle Eastern chilies, like Aleppo pepper and stuff, are actually really mild and fruity. So you can use cold water to wash your hands after touching chili as well, and then wash them again with some hot water just to get rid of any stuff. It's a little like touching fish.
Yes.
We remember that.
It's a little like touching fish.
Yeah, you know, like cold water.
Yeah,
hot water. You know what I mean.
Yeah, you would know what you mean. I trust you.
And make sure you scrub your nails really well as well.
Ah, yeah, under your nails is a surprise chili for later. So make sure you get under there. But you should be doing that anyway because we're doing bread today.
So 2 for 1.
2 for 1. Clean under your nails.
So we've got a little cumin, part of our seasoning. It's going to be warm and earthy. Then we've got olive oil, and we'll also season with lemon juice. So I'm going to keep this little half chili bag, just in case we want a little bit more. Might put in this little oil jug. So
and it was quite a
we're going to start dressing this now, but of course we will add in later on our cooled drained aubergine. So I'm going to put in my lemon zest now. Ooh. So if you're ever trying to get it out of one of these zesters, you can just whack it. You don't need to scrape it with a spoon. It should get everything out.
And I'm just going ahead with all that mint as well. I will say the herbs can be measured with your heart. Mint can get overpowering at a point, but it takes a lot. So if you've got mint at home, like don't use 3/4 of the packet if you're not going to use anything for else. Chuck it all in. It's just going to make it fresher, lighter, and everything like that. It's quite hard to go too heavy on the mint.
Right, so my aubergine might be ready by now. I'm going to check it, and once it comes out, we're going to put it straight in a colander with a pair of tongs and just let it continue to drain naturally. Once it's cool enough to touch, we're going to peel it and chop it coarsely. So I'm going to have a little investigate and see how that's doing.
Soupy.
Soupy.
Okay, so for now, for that salad, we've done kind of as much prep as we can. We've chopped everything. It's all in. And we're looking at our aubergine.
Starting to smell a little caramelized, which is great. So using a knife, should go in like butter, barring the skin, which might get a little crisp. Yeah, I think we are there. It's really, really soft. And if I just quickly press it, it's like nice and soft. So this is going to go into, into here. Use a pair of tongs, be sensible.
So it should be soupy. It should look like you've left it in your fridge for too long, but it's actually just soft inside. The softer it is, the easier it is to get out later. So don't be shy in leaving it in your oven for another 5 minutes. It just makes your job easier at the end of the day.
And I might just do a couple more stab holes just to help release that steam and also any excess water that's in there, because we want these to be nice and dry. Actually, yeah, this looks good.
That looks good.
Some of the water has already been evaporated in the oven as well. There's a little water on our trays. So this is all good ways to getting on towards a nice dry aubergine. So I'm going to set this aside for now. Okay,
And now it's bread time. We're clearing our bench, bread round 2. So these ones you need a good amount of throwing flour because we are going to use a rolling pin as well. If you don't have a rolling pin, I'll show you how to use your hands anyway, so don't be too stressed.
And I am going to give my hands a really good wash because I've just been
covered in mint.
Mint and chili.
You can use a rolling pin, you can use your hands, you can use a wine bottle at a pinch, you can use one of these. Anything that's going to help you, but your hands are fine, but you do need plenty of flour. You'll need a little bit of oil. We've got a little bit of za'atar spice to put on top, but it's not crucial if you don't have it, but we will brush them with oil to keep them nice and soft as per usual. That looks pretty good. So it could always grow a little bit more.
So you can see all those air bubbles, so it's starting to rise a lot. Here is the throwing flour Maddie was talking about, and the other thing we have in the background is a couple of trays lined with parchment paper so they don't stick. Maddie is grabbing some za'atar, some rolling pins, and a little olive oil to top at the end.
And of course some oven trays, because as soon as your hands are touching this yeast, you don't want to be touching everything else in your kitchen. You kind of want everything ready to go. So, ideal world, you're not doing this in an hour. But for now, this is okay. It's light and bubbly. It can double in size. So up to double in size is fantastic. But as Mil said, this has got plenty of bubbles inside. And for your first move, first round of bubbles are good, but the second round of bubbles are better. Be mean. For me, I know that I have to divide this into 12. So I like to kind of make something that I can easily cut 12 from. And you can use flour as you need it.
So some people find it easier to cut from a pie. Both Maddie and I tend to go from like a nice sausage.
Like a pizza into 12 slices, no problems. But I like to cut mine into quarters-ish. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
And cutting into those even numbers is much easier than
If you don't have magical Jeffrey at home, you can use a butter knife, you can use your hands if you need to, you can use like almost anything. It just needs to be able to chop through bread. It's soft, so it doesn't really need to be a knife at all. It can be anything you like. This, if you're doing once the recipe, 10 to 12 pieces is fantastic. I do 12 because dividing into 10 is hard. So we've got 12 little ugly pieces. The first thing we're going to do is a rough pre-shave. So I'm going to pick a piece, flatten it out on my bench, and then same thing that we did to check the tension. Pinch a little bit, stick it to the center, pinch a little bit, stick it to the center, and keep on going around. Just like this. So you've got a little dumpling that looks like this. So ideal. You've got all your ugly bits tucked underneath and your top bit is smooth like this. So,
if you've been wondering also where our Jeffreys come from, we get them from our friends at Bakery Bits. If you want to check out their site, we've got lots of lovely Jeffreys on there. And very, very useful for dough scraping, cutting up bread.
So this little tucking or pre-shape, or this is just tucking in all your ugly little bits, so no matter what happens, even if you cut the weirdest shapes, even if it's a triangle, a square, or whatever, they all going to look roughly the same at the end of the day. So flatten it out, pinch, around, keep on pinching, circle, something, little dumpling, like this.
And we've been saying it along the time we've been doing bread, how they go onto the tray is kind of how they come out. So you might as well take your time to make them look a little bit beautiful.
Except these are flatbreads, so we're going to make them rustic, artisanal, just the way I like them. Homemade. So, depending on how much time you have, at this stage, if you leave them for 2 or 3 minutes on your bench, even 4, 5, 10, it's up to you, it's going to be a little bit easier to roll them because these are now a little bit tighter than they were when they came out of the bowl. You can see they're bouncing a little bit. If your dough is working against you, i.e. it's shredding or you're finding it really hard to roll, just let it relax on your bench for a little bit longer. We're going to do it in an hour. I'm going to bully these, but if you're worried, just leave them for a little bit longer. They're going to be relaxed and much easier to work with. But for now, pick your favorite, your number one that you want to beat. Into the flour, back and forth, just like this. So flatbread, we're going to make it flat. I'm rolling it back and forth, and then I'm going to rotate it back and forth. And a little bit more flour if you need it. So in terms of your size, it kind of depends how much you're making. If you're making 8, you're going to have really big ones. If you're making 12 like us, they'll be roughly this size. But I don't mind the shape. This is nice so long as it's all roughly the same thickness, so you don't have one really thin side and one really thick side. And if you accidentally go like this, that's no problems. You can just tuck it under. We just want them all to cook roughly at the same time, so don't make one this big and one this big. All roughly the same size, all roughly the same thickness, and then they are beautiful and on your tray.
How many do you think we're going to get to a tray? 6?
8.
8?
Oh, we've got 12, so we may as well 2 times 6. Use flour as you need it. It shouldn't be sticking to your rolling pin.
And would you like dust off the flour after?
If you've got lots on, absolutely. Yeah. Don't make your life harder than it needs to be. Just use flour.
And at this point, we're going to get our oven preheating. Ideally, flatbreads you're cooking really fast,
hot.
So they get nice and puffy and not too brown. I'm going to set ours to 300, but set yours as hot as you can.
Kind of like the pizza, as hot as you can go. The hotter the better. And I did say we were going to brush these with a little bit of olive oil. The olive oil is nice because it keeps your top soft. So these are going to be, even though they're going in nice and hot, they won't dry out too much. That oil is going to help them stay really nice and soft and bendable. Perfect for swiping through all your dips and all your sauces.
Right, last one. So just enough room for them to spread out on my tray, and I'm going to put these to the side. Come back to our other tray. Here's one I lined earlier.
Here's one I lined earlier. If you are managing to keep up with us, that's awesome. If not, you can always pause, come back, watch it later tonight. You don't have to be doing it right now from 6 until 7. You can do it from 6:30 till 7:30. But send us your progress shots. What do your flatbread looks like? Are they proved lovely? Do they need a little bit longer? Have you got some beautiful fresh salads like us? I'm feeling very lucky to have a nice fresh salad for dinner.
It's going to be really good.
Best thing about summer.
The tomatoes.
The tomatoes. The fresh salads. Cold salads.
All right.
Okay, so we have 12, mostly flat,
Beautiful.
same thickness, beautiful babies. And we brush them with a tiny bit of oil, again, just to soften them.
And it's a good opportunity to just clean everything down, give your hands a really good wash, sanitize all your surfaces.
When I say a tiny bit of oil, I mean kind of a soft drown. So this oil will stop them from getting a crust outside, but they will also get really nice and soft and a lovely golden color in your oven. So don't be shy with your oil.
And traditionally,
all flavor.
olive oil, right?
Olive oil, yeah. Cooking this much rapeseed oil is not very nice, or sunflower oil. If you don't have the oil, you just want to keep them in a nice moist place. So either you're keeping a warm tea towel on top, a wet tea towel, sorry. Wet and warm is good. But either way, lots of oil if you can. If not, wet tea towel. And we've got a beautiful spice, which is here.
We've got a little za'atar. It's a nice combination of wild thyme. It's a little bit of sesame, some oregano.
Your sumac inside, some sesame seeds.
And they'll always look a little bit different. So if you bought one and it's a little greener, maybe it's just a different variety. But there's lots
so
and
many
lots. It's
different
kind of
types.
just like a house blend of whatever the brand has picked.
It's good flavour as well.
Good flavour.
This is, you can get your full chef on and do a lovely nice sprinkle on top. As much or as little as you like. Again, this is an option. You know, you don't have to do this. This is just something that makes them nice and beautiful.
I'm going to move you here, just while I clean the bench. That's all right.
Behind. There you go. Thanks, Millie.
Just to annoy you.
If you don't have a Millie cleaning up after you, remember you have to clean your bench after your bread. Whereas I have a lovely Millie who is doing all the cleaning, and all I have to do now is wash my hands. So, I'm going really heavy on the olive oil. I think it makes them really nice. They're just going to soak it all up, and it's just good flavour. So, in terms of timing for this, you've gotten to this stage. You are so proud of your flatbreads. Now, these are flat. They're kind of already warm because you've been proving them. In terms of time before they go into the oven, honestly, they could go in right now. They could go in 5 minutes. They can go in 10 minutes. They're not going to get super big and bouncy like your bread rolls because we've rolled them out super flat. If you want them a little bit softer, I would say 10 to 15 minutes outside or in your under your damp cloth is fine. But these are also very, very happy to go in right now. The olive oil will lend them a little bit of softness. So I'm going to put these in our oven right now because it's up to heat. So they're going to go to maximum 10 minutes, let's say.
All right.
We're just going to wipe the bench once more because there's flour all on those trays.
So now we can assemble some of our salads. We've just got a couple of small bits of prep left. Then we're going to do hummus, and then we can dish up for dinner. We just want our flatbreads as well to be like very light brown and soft. They shouldn't be dark at all. That's just not the flatbread way. So I'm putting a timer on for 3 minutes to start, and we'll see how it goes. We might need to do a rotate, swapping trays over and around, and then also a 180 rotation. So for touche, while we're waiting, I'm going to dress it with our pomegranate dressing, just so it can soak up all those flavors. But remember, we're holding back the flatbread till the very last minute. So quick whisk.
I'm going to shove these up. We've got really, really lovely fresh salads. When it says shard, you can chop these, but they should be crispy enough that you can kind of break them up a little bit, as big or as little as you like. Oh, that was a good proper crack.
And using like quite a lot of olive oil just gives it really good flavour. I've seen someone deep fry them before. It was so good.
Yeah.
And it also helps to protect them from getting too soggy while they sit in the salad. So if you do want to have them for a little bit longer,
yeah, if you need it to
use
sit
a little
out,
more oil.
more oil.
Gorgeous.
I think we say that a lot, but oil is good. It's flavour.
You mean it. So that is all our fattoush prep done. I'm going to give this just a really quick toss, just so this can start to
soak up all those good flavours.
Ooh. That smells so good.
It does, it smells amazing. Really aromatic actually with all those spices.
And very, very, very colourful. So we're going to put the flatbread on top. We're not going to toss it quite yet, but it's just ready to go. I want to eat this so bad.
Do it.
Shan't. I can wait 5 minutes.
Can you?
I don't know, maybe not.
I can't, I'm starving. These salads are going to go
All right.
goodbye real quickly.
On top, and we'll just leave these to sit here until we're ready to use them.
Then we've got salad part 2 and our little soggy aubergine. Soggy used in a loving, loving term.
So
it's
hopefully
soggy, it's flavoursome and soft.
We are looking nice and soft. Actually, it's not too hot anymore. I'm going to trim off the top. Pop this to the side. A little bit of water is drained out, but I'm also going to give it like a light squeeze. Yes. Just to get rid of some of that water. But it's a little hot, so if you can, just wait a little while to cool this down. And to peel it, I'm going to chop it in, thank you, chop it in half. You can even use a pair of tongs and a fork if it is still too hot. This is just about okay to handle. Too hot to handle, but it's okay.
Too hot to handle.
So I'm going to discard all the skin.
That's steaming. That's nice and hot. If you are doing this at home, it can take 5 minutes to chill out before it. Don't go in burning your hands.
And we're just going to coarsely chop this. It doesn't need to be super fine. It is very soft, so it will continue to get a little bit smaller as we mix it. But it is nice and soft. It's not spongy, which is perfect. I'm going to give this a little quick toss. And of course, we need to season all our salads. So we are approaching the end of our cooking. The last thing we need to do is make our delicious hummus. So I'm going to pop this to the side.
For your hummus, it's a personal preference kind of thing. So usually lots and lots of lemon juice. The chickpeas and the tahini are quite on the bland side, so lots of lemon juice, plenty of salt, as is quite garlicky as well, but that again is personal preference.
Right.
I'm going to give this one a quick taste, see where it's at. Needs
Salt, lemon.
salt, oil, and lemon. It's
Right,
everything.
let me juice this, and then we can use some lemon.
And some salt.
Because that's still lime, right?
Yes.
You could use lime juice, so just have a slightly different flavour profile.
Beautiful.
How much? Good splash?
Go a good splash. Yeah, that's good.
Ooh, we got a seed, sorry.
Surprise seed for later on. And I am going to go, it's quite, I don't know, it's quite watery, quite dry. I'm going to go a good splash of olive oil as well. Healthy splash.
Oh, they look delicious, popping up nicely. More salt, they're tasting really good. Yum.
Okay, we can let it sit. I'm going to put one last little dash of salt in, and then that one is pretty good to go.
If you can, use nice extra virgin olive oil, because it's raw, you're really going to taste it, and it gives amazing sort of peppery, fresh flavour. Right, so I'm going to put this to the side, move on to our hummus. We've got a stick blender, immersion blender, all the good stuff.
Whatever you call it.
But, you know, if you haven't got any of those things, you can just use like a fork and a masher or something, and you'll get through it in the end.
You have to go over there.
I do have to go over there, you're so right. So into my blender, I'm going to add some chickpeas. I've drained them. These are just tinned ones. It's much, much simpler to start from tin rather than anything else. In the meantime, Maddie is going to peel my garlic. You don't need to chop it really, to be honest, because we're going to blend it in the oven. Let's just put all these to the side for now, even though we'll do some tasting in a sec.
So I'm just crushing them and taking the dry bit off, as we always do in the little skin.
So, drained chickpeas go in, but you can see I've actually kept the water, just in case we need to thin it, but it's very lemony. We'll want to use something that's a little more neutral in terms of...
You can use water if you accidentally pour that down the sink. But for us, you know, we use it for other things as well, aquafaba, but it's great to thin it out as well. It's very neutral in flavour, so it's not going to harm anything.
And once again, like good quality extra virgin olive oil for flavour. We've got some tahini, which is just ground toasted sesame paste. And Maddie's going to have a little look at her flatbreads while she...
Garlic in.
Thank you. And aquafaba is just the water from your chickpeas. So basically just translates to bean water. It's got quite a lot of protein.
Special bean water. Oh, they look beautiful. These are done. They don't need much at all. In terms of colour, that dark colour is crispy, and if you want them a little bit soft, you can have them a little bit paler. Their oven's so hot. As soon as they're missing all that pale stuff, there we go, and they got a nice golden colour on the bottom. Done, dusted, happy. I think that was about 7 minutes. So if you've got a nice hot oven, this is the quickest way you can do it. I'm going to slide them.
One donation.
Bye.
Nice knowing you.
The donation to the floor gods.
So we've got some lemon juice from earlier. So in my jug, I've got my tahini olive oil. So tahini being that sesame seed paste that I mentioned, some salt, my chickpeas, and some lemon juice. I'm going to start with a good splash, and we can always use more if needed, but this should be lemony, it should be garlicky, and if it's not those things, it's not going to be a hummus.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so I'm going to start blending.
So I think we use a roasted sesame tahini, just for a bit of extra flavour. You can get honestly, these days, 1,000 different types of tahini. You can get pale. It's all just sesame seeds blended. They've got a nice natural oil to them as well.
You may have to stir them. They sometimes settle if they've sat there for a while. So it's very, very thick at the moment. I think I'm already going to add a splash of my aquafaba or my chickpea water, just so my blender isn't having such a hard time. And tahini also really thickens things up. So if it's really, really thin, you can add a splash more tahini. But we want to go until this is nice and smooth. If you've got a blender, they're also great.
Can I have a look?
She thick.
Schlappy. Could be thicker.
No, it just needs a good blend, I think.
So tahini, if you haven't used it before, boy, that's loud.
Sorry.
It's really similar to peanut butter. So toasted or untoasted, they just blend it until it's super, super smooth. But it does separate out the fat, so it can be quite tacky at the bottom and then a layer of oil on top. You always need to mix it through because you want all of the tahini inside.
Okay, so we've had a little bit of lemon, a little bit of salt just for our initial seasoning, and tahini kind of works, hummus works in a similar way in seasoning where it's kind of like a dressing. You want the salt, the fat and the acid all to be well balanced. So I'm just going to scrape this off because it's now nice and smooth. You can kind of go on forever and ever if you want a really, really
Yeah,
silky
if you want it
hummus.
super smooth, you're just there blending.
Blending away. But it should be
As
spoonable.
long as time you have.
And you can top it with lots of things like some chopped parsley, a little bit of ground cumin, some extra olive oil. But a nice one to have on hand. So I'm going to give this a good stir. Just make sure I got everything off the bottom. And then we're going to do some seasoning. Right, more salt, more lemon.
More salt, more lemon. Shocker.
Shocker. Happens every time.
That's good slop. I don't think anyone in the world likes a really tough tahini.
No.
It's not
Hummus?
very nice. Dry. Oh, did I say? Tahini, yeah. Hummus. Nobody likes tough tahini either.
It's like lasagna all over again.
Yeah.
The bechamel. Getting my words mixed up. Right, let's have another taste. Are you gonna... Yeah, go on.
Better. More lemon.
More lemon?
Possibly more oil.
Yeah, could do. A little more lemon, I think a little more salt, and a little more... We're definitely going to do more olive oil on top. But at this point, you just want to make sure it's a nice balance of lemony, like it has to be quite lemony, because otherwise, not for hummus, but also a good amount of salt to balance that out. Right, I'm going to grab
We
myself...
have ourselves a veritable feast tonight. We even have a presenting jar.
I
How
know.
nice. And the salads have sat for a little bit, so they've gotten a little bit, just a little bit softer, and I will say a lot more flavoursome as well. So that's our aubergine, and we can finally, after all these years, give our feta salad a bit of a toss. So these are still nice and crispy on top. We're going to give that a good toss, and that looks so beautiful. Look at all the colours, beautiful
And
flavours.
It's nice to give this like a good little swoosh, especially if yours is on the firmer side, you'll get like a lovely spiral.
The most
And then just top it with a
beautiful
little
hummus I've
extra
ever
olive oil
seen.
because it's yummy.
Because you can.
Because
And
I
it's
can.
lovely.
I shall. Right.
Dig in, shall we? No. Yes?
Oh, we should.
Yeah, let's go.
So you've just joined us for another night recapping breads, showing you lots of different ways to use it. Firstly, just to make a flatbread, but also how to
few
make
different-
a salad with it.
A few different seasonings today. So we've gone lots of different acids. We had the pomegranate molasses. We had some lime juice as well. Lots of different herbs and spices. Had some cumin, some pomegranate molasses, some allspice, some... what else do we have today? Sumac and za'atar. So really like totally different flavors today, but really, really delicious and just a different type of palate. So we do a lot of, I think, British continental style things. This is just it's usually associated with very fresh. So very fresh and green and
Nice
lovely
spices,
to eat.
but
Yeah.
not super hot.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, we didn't end up putting the extra half of that chili in.
And just need a little spoon for the hummus, and that's us
Oh,
done.
beautiful.
So you've just joined us for our penultimate night of cooking. Please send in any photos you have to our Instagram at Cookery School London, # Cook for Victory. As always, we love to see all your beautiful
Good
creations.
slop of hummus.
Yummy,
This
yummy,
one's for
yummy.
you.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Cheers. Thank you
See
so
you
much
next
for
time
joining us. We will see you
the last
tomorrow for the
one.
last one. Bye-bye.
I got spice on my